was the family that you sponsored?
Well, it was in April when Saigon fell, and the boat people, especially people who had associations with Americans, or especially American GIs, left. And there were camps in Pennsylvania and Arkansas, and every night on the TV they would show pictures of these refugees looking for some place. And that June, Colonel Sherwood died. Colonel Sherwood he and his wife were the house parents at the hostel, the youth hostel, 49, 48, 47, up at West Tisbury. And they had sponsored, after World War II, they had sponsored any number of refugees from Europe. And I went up to the funeral. When I went to the service and met with his wife, Elsie, somehow what they had done inspired me to sort of emulate what they had done. So I came home. So I called the IRC and said I was thinking of supporting, helping, sponsoring a small Vietnamese family. They took down my information. A few days later, I got a phone call. We have this 90-year-old woman with 9, something like that. It was a ridiculous. I said, thank you. I would like a married couple, because I think it's going to be difficult living on an island in a small town, and that a couple would be together. And so then, I don't know, a few days later, they called and said, well, we have this married couple and her nephew. They're looking for I said, well, that sounds possible. Oh, she's pregnant. Oh, how pregnant? November. This was August. Oh, and how old is she? 16. So I said yes, of course. Who wouldn't? So Annie Lesnikovsky and I drove up to Boston, up to the airport. And at that time, you could be right almost on the macadam. You could be right there. And I plane pulled in, and I could see these 3, definitely not the usual Americans. And they came down, and they had no baggage. There was a little box, just tiny, and the husband had a pair of shoes that didn't fit him. They were like tennis shoes. Fortunately, it was August, and he had the back was cut out. So we had to go into Boston to do the paperwork, and everything went well. Then we went to Chinatown to get rice and products for their diet. Well, then we went home to the vineyard. At that time, I was living in an apartment that had 1 double bedroom, 2 single beds, and then a small room that had basically a single bed, but if they were Vietnamese, that would be a big room. The married couple took that, and I took the double room with Key, the nephew, and me. It was 2 single beds, and she was very pregnant. This was August, around 25th, and we hit it off pretty well. I think quite well. About a month later, I was sleeping at exactly 6:30. The husband, the name is slipped, said, "Men sick, men really sick." Oh, we had about 10 words in English. I said, "What?" He said, "Men sick." So I got up, got dressed quickly, went to the phone, called the hospital, and said, I have a Vietnamese family. Vietnamese who's pregnant, and her husband says she's sick. We're on our way to the hospital. That's when it was the new hospital, but not the new hospital. And it was late September 25th, I think. It was a wild day. It was a stormy day. The leaves were flying. They were in the back seat. Key stayed at home, and I drove down, and now Mun would cry out, and I would go faster, and I would go faster and faster. And we got to the hospital to, I guess, at the emergency. It was locked. No one was at the door and nothing was there. And I was ready to throw something into the door to go get into it. And somehow, I guess, finally someone came to the door and got men into the hospital and into a wheelchair. And this woman was the attendant. It wasn't a nurse, it was an attendant. She's having a baby. Yes, she's having a baby. Yes, that's what. I think Martha was born. We never made it to the delivery room. We never made it to a doctor. I think Martha was born sliding off of the wheelchair. I was sort of back behind. There's nothing I could do. And then Dr. Nevin was their doctor. We had the checkup and all that stuff before, but the boys had been checked and Mintom had been checked. And Martha came out beautiful. She was such a beautiful baby.
Even though she's premature?
Not premature.
At all?
They said, but everyone said November. She was, I think, full term. Just no one knew.
Right.
Beautiful hair, beautiful, not red or spotched or anything. And quiet, so quiet. She never cried. The nurse, they said, yeah, we asked what her name was going to be. And she said, Martha's Vineyard. I said, no, it's going to be Martha, but it's not going to be Martha's Vineyard. We were such a nice family. Virginia Beresford invited us over for New Year's, which was really so sweet of her. And Mintom was a very good seamstress, and we'd gotten fabric. She had made an evening gown, and she had made the boys some pants. 5 or 6 months later, they went to live in the Brighton, Allston area of Boston, where a number of Vietnamese were living. And they had an apartment. But we're still friends. And I'm glad I did it. I would do it again.